Hello and welcome to another edition of Well Buddy, coming to you from West Africa, Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. Coming up in this edition.
I was still small, by age of 6, 7, according to the story they told me.
Okay.
So it was by that time I was affected by the Noma. One of the horrible things is stigmatization, because anytime I go to anywhere, people do stigmatize me, and because of that, I doesn't like to come out.
I was down that time like I was having a fever. Then my ears both swelled up. I put my hand, I felt that this place was soft, so I began to cry while lying down alone.
Normal patients really have that stigma whenever they get into the society. It's hard for them to, integrate into the society because of the disfigurement on the face.
What do you know about Noma disease? Well, in this edition, we will focus on this brutal and skin-eating, neglected tropical disease and how it is being tackled. We also have some health news and tips for you. Stay with us for these and more. Thank you there for joining us on this edition of Well Buddy, your health magazine where we bring to the fore issues in the sub-region, developments across the board, and personal health matters that will allow you to make informed decisions about your health. I am Imo Edet, your host. We warmly welcome all of our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County, and in Ghana on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. I am particularly excited about this episode's topic, as the expert will reveal all we need to know about this disease that has been requested to be listed among the neglected tropical diseases NTDs. Now, this disease is called Noma. Noma is a neglected disease that affects people living in poverty. Medical experts, as you will hear in this episode, describe Noma as an infectious but non-contagious bacterial disease that starts as an inflammation, that is swelling of the gums, similar to a small mouth ulcer. Now, the infection destroys the bone and tissue very quickly, affecting the jaw, lips, cheeks, nose or eyes, depending on where the infection started. The dreadful thing about this disease is that it takes just days for Noma to leave survivors with severe facial disfigurements that make it hard to eat, speak, see, or breathe. On top of that, survivors must deal with the social stigma caused by the horrific damage done to the face. Epidemiological data on Noma are scarce, but the current estimate of the global incidence is 30,000 to 40,000 cases per year, with a mortality rate of approximately 85% and a burden of disease calculated to be a loss of 1 to 10 million disability adjusted life years. In Nigeria's northwestern region, there is a prevalence rate, according to the Center for Disease Control, from 2010 to 2018 of 1.6 per 100,000 population. Let's head to Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria, as Ogebierika brings us this report.
Noma is a gangrenous infection starting in the mouth, caused by extreme poverty, malnutrition, and poor hygiene. The bad thing about this disease is that in just 2 weeks, it destroys the tissues of the face and might kill up to 90% of the people affected. Noma can be classified, according to the World Health Organization (WHO), as a neglected disease that affects people living in poverty. Disfigured survivors find a unique place to heal their wounds at the Noma Hospital in Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. Amina chose to be identified by her first name. She is 18 years old and a Noma survivor. She says,
I was down that time like I was having a fever. Then my ears both swelled up. I put my hand, I felt that this place was soft, so I began to cry while lying down alone. I touched my cheek and I felt it had formed a hole. My concern is that this disease doesn't allow me to do so many things. This is why I cannot interact with people, like moving around the town or socializing with other people.
Since 2014, Nigerian health authorities and Doctors Without Borders (MSF) are working together in Sokoto to treat patients affected by Noma. Survivors of Noma usually face stigmatization and are isolated in their communities. In this case, 27-year-old Aliyu, a Noma survivor, was neglected by his two wives.
As I was growing up with this wound, I had to cover my face with this scarf to avoid being mocked. God has now blessed me with a wife who endures staying with me.
Aliyu's wife says, I have spent 3 years with him. He married 2 wives and they all left him. Then he married me and people were saying that I will also leave him. But only death can separate us. According to Dr. Isa Shafiu, people who survive Noma have only one choice if they want a better life. They must undergo extensive reconstructive surgery.
Noma patients really have that stigma whenever they get into the society. It's hard for them to, integrate into the society because of the disfigurement on the face. And they also have a lot of difficulties while eating, while feeding, because if half of the face is down, is gone, is eaten by Noma, you'll find out that patients, have to do some maneuvers for them to get food into their mouth and then to swallow. And part of the problems they are facing is a speech problem.
The World Health Organization estimates Noma affects 140,000 people every year. It can be prevented by improving general conditions of life and access to health care.
That was Ogebierika with that report. Now, people who survive Noma disease have only one choice if they want a better life. They must undergo extensive reconstructive surgery. 90% of people affected by Noma die in the first 2 weeks if they don't receive treatment with antibiotics in time. That is why early detection and awareness-raising campaigns are so important for a disease that affects an estimated 140,000 children every year. Many people who survive Noma are at great risk of dying from secondary complications. They experience physical and mental consequences which isolate them from their communities and can cause mental health problems. Many people also have difficulty speaking and eating and face stigma and discrimination in their communities because of their facial disfigurement. Children can experience developmental delays because of their social isolation or from the impact of childhood diseases linked to Noma, such as measles and malaria. These were some of the experiences Mulikat Okonlowo, a Noma survivor, went through before reconstructive surgery. Operated several times over the past 20 years, Mulikat is a former Noma patient, 37, who now lives and works in the Noma Hospital, Sokoto State, as a health promoter. By sharing her story, she wants to give hope to other patients and help them build self-confidence. Still living with the physical consequences of the surgery, Mulikat is an amazing and proud woman who likes to dress well and spend time with her friends. She runs an agency now that helps other Noma survivors. She was in Dakar recently and WDR caught up with her. Here is a side of her story.
How did you first know that you had Noma?
I didn't know because I was still small. By age of 6, 7, according to the story they told me.
Okay.
So it was by that time I was affected by the Noma.
What has been your experience as a Noma survivor? What were those horrible things you went through?
One of the horrible things is stigmatization. Because anytime I go to anywhere, people do stigmatize me. And because of that, I doesn't like to come out. So I was always at home. Maybe even if I want to come out, it will be in the dark, in the night like this, and I have to cover so that no one will see my face. So I really passed through a lot of that before the surgery. But after the surgery, then all those things that I can't do, I began to do them. Yeah.
What is the situation like in where you were? The people also were also going through this. What is the picture like?
Yeah, all those the film you watched, yeah, all is from Sokoto Noma Hospital, because from the neighboring village, Noma disease is always affected people by malnourished. That's why that doctor is talking about the nutrition, the lack of good nutrition, good food, good even immunization, and the lack of oral hygiene, personal hygiene, all these things, and immunization. There are some children, most especially in Sokoto, Nigeria, most of them doesn't like to take their children to the hospital for the immunization, and this issue of immunization is contributes a lot, and the lack of good nutrition, good food, because they are always eating, let's say, starch. Anything starch is eatable, but there is not enough proteinous food in their food to give children. They can sell it, but they hardly eat it. So all this kind of a thing is the one that I know it can even bring pneumonia to a child.
How did you overcome all of this stigma and become what you are today? Maybe your words can also encourage somebody out there that is listening to us.
Yeah, I said it was after the treatment, because if there is no treatment, that the time that the doctor saw me from Lagos, because I came from Lagos for the treatment in Sokoto, yeah, I mean that doctor that professor did not see me. All this one I'm doing today, I won't be able to do it. But after that, yeah,
You have an organization.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about it.
The organization is Elysium Normal Survivors.
Okay.
The organization, I said it, what really make us to bring out that suggestion is that we doesn't want to see normal survivors suffering, because even as after the treatment, there is still a lot of some stigma, because not every office or organization or anyone can give the job to survivors, because the way we still look different to others. So that's the main reason we organize, me and that guy, Fidel, sit down together. What can we do? Because what we pass through, we doesn't want other survivors to pass through it. Then we want to be, if we get more support, then any survivor, even in Nigeria, we have a lot of survivors in Nigeria, which I've been talking to some of them to include them in our, so that any one of them, normal disease is not what you can't go to school. Yeah. Because you can't even come out. So not every survivors go to school. I just summon courage, and with the people encouraging me, go and get something for your own good. That's the reason why I went. The thing, if it is at least it's a little thing, but it's helped me today. So not every survivor can going to the school. Not every one of them can have that courage that I have to go back to school. So we want to empower ourselves by whatsoever supporting we get, by asking, what do you want to become? Do you want to go back to school? If he said yes, we send them. If it's a business, how much is the cost of the business? Even if we cannot give up, at least little for that survivor to start, so that he or she will be able to stand on his own or her own and not living independent life. So that is.
Thank you, Madam Mulikat, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
That was Mulikat Okanlawo, a Noma survivor. If you're just joining us, this is Well Buddy, and we are coming to you from West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. If you're in Ghana, you're listening to us on Royals FM, 104.7 Wenji, and in Liberia, we are on Alternative Youth Radio, 98.9 FM Lofa County. We are talking about Noma disease, and you heard a report from the northwestern state of Sokoto, and you also heard a testimony from a Noma survivor who is now using our situation to help others. Now, over the past years, Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Border, has advocated for and supported the submission of a dossier on Noma to the World Health Organization by a representative of Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Health, with 30 other countries serving as co-sponsors. This submission occurred at multiple WHO offices early this year. Well, let's find out more about Noma disease as we caught up with Dr. Mark Sherlock, MSF Health Advisor for Nigeria. He speaks with us during the premiere of the documentary on Noma here in Dakar.
Noma is what we call a gangrenous disease. So that means it's a disease that breaks down the tissues, so the skin and the bones and the tissues of your face, mostly around your mouth.
Okay.
It can be on either side of your face, going up to your nose and close to your eye. It's not infectious, so you cannot pass it from one person to the next. But it is kind of bacteria and other bugs that do cause it. Okay. When it mostly affects children between the ages of 2 to 6 or 2 to 7, and it kills very quickly. From progressing the disease to dying can be a matter of weeks. And up to 90% of those who contract Noma ultimately die of the disease.
Why are people just hearing of Noma? Has it been in existence before now?
Yeah, well, we've known of Noma for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it was first described in the medical literature in the 1600s. And historically, you find Noma all over the world. I'm from Ireland, and you had Noma documented in the census in Ireland in the 1840s following a famine that we had in Ireland, in the Netherlands in World War II. So it has existed, and we've known about it for a long, long time. But the knowledge remains extremely poor of Noma, and that's amongst healthcare workers, communities, and populations around the world. We know people know very little about it, but it's there, especially in poor communities which have got poor access to healthcare.
Where can you say, what region is this more prominent?
It's globally foreign, but there is specific projects, specifically in West Africa. Those specific projects in northwest of Nigeria. And for example, Senegal has taken a really active lead in the fight against Noma as well. But the reason why we kind of sometimes Noma has been termed nearly an African disease now, and that's because some of the African governments are actually doing something about it, and that's why. But in fact, it's globally. You see it globally in Latin America currently, in Asia currently, and also across Africa. So, the reason why sometimes it gets defined as nearly being an African disease is because governments like Nigeria, governments like Senegal are actually standing up and doing something about it. So that shines a spotlight on African countries somewhat. But you do get you have it all over the world.
Well, does Noma only affect the facials? Does it also have something to do with other parts of the body? Does it disable you in some sort?
No, it's only the face, and that's what makes Noma very recognizable, is that it only affects the face, and normally only one side of the face as well. And it doesn't go anywhere else around the body. What what happens in Noma is that it's the infection that kills, normally of what we call sepsis. But also patients struggle to eat because their jaw gets locked. Yeah. They struggle to talk, and then the overwhelming infection is what ultimately kills these Noma patients.
Is it curable?
It's curable with simple antibiotics. The key for Noma is you need to identify it early. Broadly speaking, there are two stages there's multiple stages, but you can divide them into two, into the reversible and the irreversible stages. Okay. And during the reversible stages, if you treat Noma with simple antibiotics, you can get all over the world, in every corner of the world. It stops Noma in its tracks. Unfortunately, many people don't have access to these simple antibiotics, and they progress to the irreversible stages, and this is where the high mortality happens. If people survive that, they are then subsequently left with the scars of the disease, which is what people see in textbooks, the deformities of the face and the scarring of the tissues on the face.
So this means facial surgeries does little or no good in the correction?
Well, in the initial stages, what you need is antibiotics. That is what you need as quickly as you can. Only at the later stages, when the tissues have somewhat healed, that is when kind of reconstructive surgery becomes more important. Because what the reconstructive surgery does, it does a number of things. It helps prevent what we call the lockjaw, so opening up the jaw so people can speak, so people can eat normally. But it gives function back to people's mouths so they can do those activities. But also it reinforces kind of self-esteem and dignity, because you're actually correcting the damage of the face. So that can do a huge amount against the stigmatization that exists as well. So people following surgery, and we heard one of our Noma survivors and MSF staff members, Mulika, talk about that today, that it makes her able to go back into the community and live a normal life without the stigma that she lived with before the surgery.
You were in Sokoto, Nigeria. Can you share your experience with us with what you saw and what you witnessed?
So Sokoto it's a hospital that is run by the Ministry of Health of Nigeria, and MSF has been supporting it for the last 9 years. And the big thing that I see from Sokoto is actually, and people normally don't associate this with Noma, but it's hope. And because many Noma patients come from rural communities where they have been stigmatized, and many believe that they were alone living and fighting this disease. And by coming to Sokoto, they found refuge and a community and a place for healing. And this has been this has quite a powerful and profound impact on the patients that actually go to Sokoto. It's not a quick fix in terms of treatment. It takes months and years to treat Noma. And in coming to the hospital, survivors develop a network and a community where they can actually fight the disease together. And that's where I see the hope in this hospital in Sokoto.
So what is the role MSF is playing in all of this?
So, of course we support the hospital in Nigeria. But one big thing of what we're doing is actually using our voice. We're one of the largest humanitarian organizations in the world. We work in over 74 countries around the world. And what we are doing is using our voice and using our influence to change policy. And this is one of the biggest international impacts MSF is having. And this is alongside the Nigerian government who submitted a dossier of evidence to the WHO. And through our support, we were able to gather 31 letters of support from countries around the world, asking the WHO to include Noma on the neglected tropical disease list.
Doc, thank you so much for talking to us again.
You're very welcome, thank you.
That was Dr. Mark Sherlock, MSF Health Advisor for Nigeria. It's now time for health tips. Now, your feet are among your most important body parts. They get you where you want to go, help you stay healthy through physical activity, and provide freedom of movement. However, it is easy to take your feet for granted until you have an injury or problem. Physical therapists provide these tips to help you improve or maintain your foot health and the freedom to move. Number 1, Clean your feet daily and wear clean, dry socks. Now, wash your feet daily in lukewarm water. Avoid using hot or cold water. Water that is too hot or too cold can damage your skin, especially in people with diabetes who have decreased skin sensation. Number 2, check your feet for blisters, redness, small cuts, or cracked skin. If you can't see the bottom of your feet, use a hand mirror with magnification. If you notice any problems, contact a doctor or physical therapist. Never ignore a problem with your feet. If you have diabetes, check your feet daily. Number 3, cut nails carefully and regularly. Keep your nails trimmed but not too short. Nails that are cut too short can become ingrown and cause soreness or infection. And finally, keep your blood sugar under control. High blood sugar levels can cause nerve damage, resulting in loss of skin sensation. Reduced blood flow can also make it harder for your feet to heal from an injury or resist infection. And with those health tips, we've come to the end of this edition of Well Body. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our resource persons as well as my colleagues for their contributions. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi and Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. For your feedback on the program, please do send us an email to wadr@wadr.org. Until next time, keep staying healthy. I am Imo Edet. Bye for now.